call to order the June 2nd, 2008 meeting of the East Ascension Gravity Drainage District. We have a roll call. I think we have one member out, Mr. Chris Lohr. He had a family emergency. You got anybody else listening? Pretty much it. All right. We have an invocation. Mr. George, would you please lead us in invocation?
Yes, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We ask you to bless this meeting, Lord. Bless each councilman here, Lord, and their families, Lord, as we continue to strive to do the right thing for the parish, Lord, in legislation. Bless the people, Lord. We ask you to bless our men and women in uniform, Father, as we do every meeting, and protect them, Lord, and guide them in their everyday struggles, Father. We ask all these things in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen. We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Valentine. Chair would entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the May 5th, 2008 meeting.
Motion.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Lambert. Drainage reports, Mr. Rue. Before we go on, let me correct myself. If we have any 2/3 to the agenda, and we do have one that that I'm asked to vote on, that we put it on today, less than 24 hours. We do have some repairs for the Marvinboro pumping station that we need to get past this board.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Shake Snyder. Can I have a roll call? Mr. Shake Snyder. Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Mr. Cullen.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Madam Secretary, be it known as put on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, as legal counsel, we received the documents in to settle the Roger C. Bridge Road, and the suit was filed back when the parish and the Drainage Board had an intergovernmental agreement, so it also contains the parish president's name. I'd ask that we put it on the agenda to authorize him to sign on behalf of the Drainage Board also.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. We have a roll call. Mr. Shake Snyder. Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes.
Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Mr. Cullen.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Madam Secretary, be it known that it's passed. We're going to take the 2/3. We have the 2/3 item for the repairs as item number 10, and we'll take the item that there's nothing really to bring up, not unless you want to explain it a little bit more. We'll move that to, say, item number 11.
That's fine.
Thank you, sir. I mean, item number 10A. Hard to follow number 11. All right. Now we'll have the drainage reports. Mr. Roof.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I'm going to do it a little bit different tonight. Instead of giving you my accounting of what's going on, I'd like to open it up to the commissioners to question me on any concerns that you have in your district, some projects going on. Again, I'm going to kind of change it around a little bit. I know everybody has certain projects, and sometimes I don't hit on the ones that you're really interested in. So again, I'm going to ask you to if you have any questions of what's going on in your district or in the parish, please, that's what I'm here for tonight, to answer those questions.
Anybody got any particulars they want to hit on?
Bayou Francois, Mr. Bill.
Yes, sir.
That bulkhead is finished?
We have one, it's 99% finished with the city. Of course, the other one that goes across the development across from City Hall has been completed for a while. Both of them have passed inspection, and if you has to do the final grading and a little bit more fill on the one for Gonzales itself.
Okay, thank you. Chairman?
Yes. Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Bill, Stevens Park area, I know we've been working on that project. How is it coming? Do we look like it's going to be successful? I know we had a little belly right there. Are we going to be able to get the water to Black Bayou Canal?
Yes, sir. At Stevens Park, what we decided to do, we're working with the Parish Recreation Department. Actually, what we are doing is clearing of the land. We started clearing this week, or last week rather, on the piece of ground that's on the back side, I guess the northwest side of the drainage ditch that goes through Stevens Park. And we're actually going to reroute that ditch. We dug the ditch and improved it as part of our major drainage going to Melissa Heights and Black Bayou Road. What we're doing now at their request is assisting them in rerouting the ditch around the property line so we can make that whole corner area parking lot and part of something that recreation can use for that site. And we're in the process of helping them right now on that issue.
And Bill, we have to get wetlands permits for
It's
that?
not a wetland at that location.
That location is clear.
That's-
All right. And one other question while I got you. Bayou Narcisse is complete as far as the cleaning?
Bayou Narcisse is complete. We still have to go back and do some finish grading, remove a lot of spoil dirt through that area. It is basically complete for us, the digging part. We have one other little, and it's part of that system. We found that the ditch going across or along the west side of the railroad tracks at Bishop Woods subdivision is really bad off, and we need to drain it to the upper end of Bayou Narcisse, and we're going to do that to drain that area from Duplessis Road that way. And that's the only part of that project that's left, with the exception of some crossings we have to change out, upgrade at different locations, and also to move into the spoil.
We've seen a lot of high and low spots, as far as some restrictions along the way.
All everything we're doing for us, the major drainage channels, we are finding that there is a lot of bottlenecks throughout all of them, from silt buildup and logs and other debris that's in the bottom of them.
Sure.
So what we're doing now is really doing a major improvement to our drainage.
It looks good so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Valentine.
Hey, Mr. Rue, a couple of things. One, new school on Bluff Road. Have we solved, or the school board solved, the drainage problems in between Mr. White and the school property as of yet?
No, sir. Not that I know of. We had talked to them, and they were going to come back with some suggestions on what they can do as part of their development. And as of today, we have not met again on any kind of solution. Okay. But I can make a point tomorrow to contact them and push the issue a little bit more.
Well, we need to do that before they get too far along, which they are, and we make sure that process is handled through the two entities. And the last meeting, you discussed the fact of Frog Bayou. Has that been completed? And
we have to do final inspection of it. It's not completed to our liking right now. We want to go through it and do some more observations and critique of that bayou, because I think they're not doing as much as we would like them to do. So
okay.
We're going back and having given final inspection of it.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Sheikh Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, I have a couple of them. First of all, Panama Conway on dredging. I know what you've done. What they've done so far has been fantastic. We're just looking at the schedule for.
Well, on Conway and Panama Forest, the mulching, we've mobilized this week back on Conway to finish up the mulching on that, then it can proceed into Panama for that. We have scheduled, we're trying to finish up one of our track holes on the Birat Ditch and also on a couple of other jobs to get them back out to the Conway to come back through there and remove some debris from the bottom of the canals and clean out some high areas in that. We're working hard to do that. Primarily right now, we've been working overtime to get some of these major drainage channels cleaned out for hurricane season, and that's why we're just throwing dirt as much as possible. We can go through the Conway and the Panama when we get into a little bit of rainy season, because we can still do that even though it's giving us some problems with rain. However, the digging is our priority right now while it's dry. So we're having to push after going back and cleaning out some of Conway due to the dry weather and trying to catch up on some major drainage dredging.
Yeah, but I would
it
just-
is planned to do. The other thing that would benefit us in that area is getting our mulching machine ready, and it should be complete by the end of this month, and we'll have it manned and in conjunction with CSSI and doing some mulching and some cleaning of all the bayous, including some of the upper regions of Conway and Panama.
Yeah, because there was concerns about getting the downward end toward Bond River done in case a storm comes up. The cross ditch, I just want to see what the status of these are at, from Brittany Street across the Airline Highway to Francois by the old burn bar.
That has been through engineering and survey, and I'll have to contact them and see what the exact status for the scheduling of that work.
Okay.
And I'll have to give you a call tomorrow and give you some information on that.
Okay. They had, we got some calls on the Lat Road ditch, and Alan had mentioned they were going to check on that.
Again, it could be in your packet that you have, and I apologize that some of these, I would say, normal work order jobs. I'll have to get back with you
Okay.
on some of those because we have over 300 of them.
Okay.
And I kind of failed to follow up on all of them.
What about the study for Ball Bayou? We still hadn't received that.
We have most of the information on that. We're critiquing it. They had to go back and readjust some of the data, but we do have that Ball Bayou complete, substantially complete, and we're reviewing it right now.
When do we
From
anticipate? When do we anticipate?
Well, actually, what we're doing is we're incorporating their information from Ball Bayou into our scheduling of reworking Ball Bayou for us, the dredging, like we're doing all our major channels, and that is scheduled for later this year. So we're actually using their information to go back and do our cut sheets and do our improvements of Ball Bayou.
Are we going to be able to get the drugstore that opened up to do detention on that? 'Cause I know that they-
Not the new one, the Walgreens is already grandfathered in, it's in there. We tried to get them, it's in the city too, which caused the problem. But that is already in the system. I mean, it's built, and we won't be able to get any kind of detention there. We tried to get detention when they were building the Walgreens, and we're not able to. And again, we do have a little bit of a problem working between us and the city of Gonzales for detention. We don't have anything set in place for mandating detention in the city. Because our drainage ordinance
Mr. Chairman,
doesn't apply.
I'd like to ask that we pursue that because we're going to have a great deal of building in that whole basin, and if we can't get some type of deal worked out between the city and the drainage department to ensure that they have their drainage according to our approval, then we're going to have some future problems in there that we're going to have to.
Well, I think that goes in front of the, it gets all zoned out, and you have a review process that your department's involved in. Am I
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah, they do, but the city can still issue the building permits
Right.
regardless of what we say, and that's what happened on the drugstore. They didn't follow any drainage requests.
The ideal situation, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Shakespeare, is for us to have the city of Gonzales adopt, or at least adopt a portion of our drainage ordinance, so we will eliminate all of these gray areas going from one area to another, coming into the city and working outside the city. Even though we have to revise the drainage ordinance maybe through negotiations, actually we need to be on the same page because that's the only way we get anything done.
Yes, sir, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, that way we can send a resolution from this board to the city, letting them know that we're not going to take care of any drainage problem you may have in that area unless they follow our drainage rules and regulations.
I think the best thing to do is we'll get together with the city and just organize some meetings and just put to the city that it is a problem and that the drainage board acknowledges the fact that unless something's done, that we're going to be getting more and more problems coming into the parish from the city, and that we need to get on the same page. I can contact them and put a request in to start having meetings and put council members.
We already have people that are downstream from these developments already, and some very major developments, and they're going to be
Looking at
10 times more in the future, and they were allowed to go without following any of our drainage plans. And so my concern is the people that are downstream from them, it's not fair to them and everybody else in the parish to follow our guidelines, and these people that come in are not required to. So whatever we need to do, I'd like to see that we make it consistent with everyone.
And that's up to us to do our due diligence to get a working relationship with the city, just like we would. We want them to work back with us. So.
And I can say, just in defense of the city, we do have a good relationship with Sorrento and with the town of City of Gonzales. They do listen to our comments and try to implement them as much as possible. We do get into little problem areas like this and some subdivisions where they don't push the property owner to go to the extent that we would like them to. But other than that, they do work with us and they do listen to us. But I think we need to get a little bit more exact on exactly what we do.
If we don't sign off on it, then we don't.
Right.
I agree with Mr. Thompson that we don't need to do any future work. Number 5, on Highway 74, when we did the what is that, Black Bayou going through there?
Bayou North.
Bayou North East, I'm sorry. A couple of the residences were concerned. A lot of people are going there now. It's so nice and clean and everything. They go and riding at night and ended up back behind their property. If there's any way we could put some type of fence or gate right there off of 74, it would kind of discourage some people because it's getting it's getting a little out of hand with joyriders now.
That is our policy, to put gates at the main intersections when requested. So we will put that on the list and put gates on both sides of 74.
We appreciate it.
And we also participate with the landowners if they put fences on their property line up to the bayou, that we put gates there so we can both enter and exit when we trying to work onto the canals.
And then the last thing, I know they had been working on the Sorrento pumping station. They had some repairs that were done. What's the status, Bill?
The Sorrento pumping station is substantially complete too.
Okay. It's
been checked out and we're in good shape. We still want to do some upgrades of the pumping station, which is part of our capital improvements. Putting I wouldn't say a safe house, but quarters there for the employees during a hurricane or inclement weather. And we still have that to do. We'll hopefully get to that toward the end of the year. And that's something we do pretty much internally. We're going to sub it out to be built, but it's just a structure to house our employees.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Bill, the retention ditch at the complaints in Ascension Trace, the residents are complaining about. What could we do to resolve some of that? That looked like more of a development problem.
It is. And in all developments, the drainage ditches leading up to the detention areas are the responsibility of the drainage department. The detention itself belongs to the subdivision and homeowners association for upkeep and maintenance. A lot of times, as in Ascension Trace, that it becomes a little bit of a problem because the ditches, in a lot of sense, acts as the detention because their ditches are so large. Ascension Trace is a perfect example of poor planning and poor, I guess, inspection by the parish and by which is the drainage department, and the developer mandating that they put in less substantial ditches as they did in that thing. There's huge canals going through there, and we can't. In its close proximity to houses and to fences, it's just a nightmare. And because of that development, we have changed the rules and began with enforcing more drainage systems throughout the parish in new developments. But that got away from us, and it was a bad scene out there. We are trying to put something together so we can maintain the ditches, but so far everything we tried did not work too much, except for just hand cleaning a lot of it, which is just not good for us and not good for them. We're still working on a method of cleaning it, though.
I suggested to some of the residents to, if the ditch was behind my house and it was like that, I'd go back there and clean it myself. And I think if everybody would chip in and clean the ditch behind their house and then spray it, they wouldn't have that problem.
I have to agree with you. I think most of us that's up in a little bit of age can go back when we were young, and actually we cleaned the ditches, in through our land, my dad's land, and road ditches and everything else. Everybody participated back then in keeping that property up. Right now, it's got to a point where of every little bit of maintenance on these ditches we're called for. It is our obligation, but it does put us in pretty much of a bind.
And they don't understand that we have a rotation, and it's like they want us to manage the ditch behind their houses. So I think we probably need to send the homeowners a letter and let them know that a lot of their fences are too close and right there on the servitude where you can't get there to clean them anyway.
That's it. If we can't get our large tractors through there, then we get to a point of having a hand clean or put smaller equipment in, and we just can't do it. We're at a point now, and in fact, the auditors asked us about a couple of weeks ago, as part of their audit closure with the parish, about how many ditches we have, and we did a rough estimate. Miles of ditches, we have over 1,000 miles of ditches. And but people don't realize it, but that's what it came out to be, and that's an enormous amount of ditches. When you get up to 800 to 1,000 miles of ditches, that's a lot, and that's roadside and back ditches. And every time a subdivision built, you get more ditches. So that's a lot of miles to maintain, and we just don't have the ability to do it without some help.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, about 2 weeks ago with the major rain we had, 2-3 weeks, we had pretty substantial flooding off of Highway 73 by the tracks. And I commend you and Alan and DPW, Bobby Swallow, for y'all's quick action to keep some of the offices and everything from flooding.
Right.
But what further has been done, or studies or what have you, to keep that from happening again?
73 at the track, you're talking about the dentist's office and all?
That's correct.
Yes,
and
sir.
the office back by the bank. And
That's
so
right.
forth.
We have determined that the best system that we can put in there to drain that whole area, and it would drain it completely. We would not have any problem flooding. If we can cut a ditch from the from LA 73 along between the dentist's office and the concrete place, a large ditch, and go straight back through on the side of Mr. Amos' property and go in through Mr. Duvall's property and hit the large gully in the back, and we could drain everything from that location. We are in negotiation with Mr. Amos because his is a primary route is going through the back side of his property. There are some large, nice trees through there. We're going to have to do some piping of the ditch because it goes through a bridge. But all of our analysis shows that that would completely solve the drainage problem along the upper end of 73 and also the doctor's office and also that triangle where the bank is.
Okay, so sounds like a good plan. We also had a problem on the back end of Silverstone. Well, it's right around the tracks also, and
Silverstone, yes, sir. And we, in fact, as of today, it seems to be a broken record. Every time we come up for a meeting, the first thing I ask my staff is what's the status of the culvert going under the railroad tracks, and it's always the same thing. We have to give them a call again because every time we call, they say we're ready to get started on it. And then the next month comes and it hasn't started. We're waiting on the railroad contractor to put a culvert in behind Silverstone to drain that slough area, that low area, and then go straight into where the equipment place is and under airline and through that system there. That would help out and again drain that large swamp area. We get rid of the mosquitoes, but drain.
And the railroad people are on board to put down this culvert?
The railroad
usually they're pretty tough to deal with. That's the reason.
Yes, sir. The railroad and the contractors. The railroad already gave the authorization to the contractor to do it. The contractor is the one that is telling us it's just any day now, and again, it goes from month to month. It's not done. It's in their hands. They have been given authorization to put it down, and the only thing what we're going to do is supply the pipe to go in the railroad tracks, and they're going to put it in. We called again today. We couldn't reach the people. And if I get a further update, I'll give you an email or a call to tell you if we got anything substantial.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Bill, the Merritt Evans Road box culverts, are we going to be construction on the, I know we're going to have two of them there. How are we working with the, I want to make sure that culvert closer to 44 is set at the right elevation.
we won't have that problem again what we had.
Yes, sir. Actually, we're checking and double checking both, and we're working very close with the engineer for the DPW, Mr. Jackie Bowman, and also with the outside DOTD and some other engineering firms to make sure that it goes in at the right depth and the right size. As of today, we actually changed the design a little bit. We're going to skew that cover slightly, so we put that ditch more in line going straight through. Right now, it gets up to the road, and it goes straight under the road, and then it kind of curves back around. Again, we're going to straighten that out by putting a skewed box covers under the Mayor Davis Road at that location. We're working on it, but we're all coming in together, again, with the DPW and us, on making sure that everything's set right.
Another quick one, the Marty Burat ditch. The bridge for Marty Burat, do we have that resolved, or do we need further action?
We are here, and I told Mr. Burat that within whatever he wants us to put there, within reason, we'll put it. I think right now the bridge, or the steel bridge that's going across this property, is reinforced with concrete footings. I did not know that it had concrete footings there when we talked to him originally. We said that we would replace the bridge and put something substantial there within 24 hours. We cannot do that with the concrete. We're willing to put and work with him in any way, any shape or form to put what he wants there. If it is concrete, though, and if it is something that we have to pull the old concrete up to place something else there, it'll just take us some time to pour the concrete, to form it up and pour the concrete. But we're able to put a temporary crossing. You know, that's what he wishes. If that has to be done, we can put a temporary crossing until we do our work, and then we'll remove the temporary and let them go through there. Again, it's whatever Mr. Burat wants. We're willing to work with him and put it there within reason.
And just one quick note, glad CDM's here tonight. We are we handling the input of all of the bottoms of the canals through there. What I want, when we go through, I want to make sure everything is set. If it's at 20-foot, 26-foot bottoms or 15-foot bottoms, are y'all putting that in y'all model? Or
yes, we are.
Who's taking care of this?
Our engineering department has modeled the whole basin, and what we're digging according to our hydraulic model, which determines the size of the ditch, the bottoms, the top width, and so forth. And that all of that is available to CDM to use as part of their design of the pumping station. But no, we are doing it as per a set engineered design model for everything going through. And that's what makes it kind of hard, because at some locations you see it's kind of a narrow and steep ditch. At other locations it's wide and with a large bottom and a large top, but not as deep. And that's because of the hydraulic model showing the capacity, but we're going through a high ridge or lowland area, and we can't put the depth in, so we have to make it wider to accept the same capacity. So I hope that answers your question. We are using an engineering model to determine that. And one other thing, if I don't know if you can bring it up, we did authorize CDM today to proceed to phase 1B of the Henderson Bayou preliminary engineering, which is about $489,000, and should be completed in a couple of months, I think. So they are proceeding, and there's no holdback on any of that.
Appreciate it, Bill. One other thing. I know that we got a wet 6 inches in some places there, but how's the grass cutting? Are we still commingling with DPW and trying to help them out on certain locations, or can you?
Well, what we do, we always done. If we're in the area and they get a request in, and say a hot request maybe from somebody, and they need something cut, and we in the area, we'll provide the service. Same thing with them. If we have a complaint come in and something we need to react, and they in the area, they help us out. So we are, like always, we assist each other on some of this stuff. If they need a piece of equipment, say like the 15-foot bush hog for some cutting of airline highway, if we are available to let them use it, they can use it. because we use some of their equipment. Just so happens, since it's dry right now, our 15-footers are used on the major drainage channels, and we just don't have the ability to give them some of the things when they want it. But if it's free, they get it.
Thank you.
That's all you have, Mr. Lambert?
Yeah.
Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Bill, I'm looking at our package here, of work orders, and I'm seeing somewhere around, I guess, 230 or better, work orders on the books. Could you maybe give us a little timeline on these work orders as far as when we could see, we had a lot of people call us and ask when we're going to get these projects done, and it would help us if we had.
I got a question, Bill. You have all that on a schedule? Is it all scheduled yet?
We have it on the schedule, put it into a schedule.
Right.
But then we had to reconfigure the schedule because of the changing of work crews and the realignment of some of our workforces. And really it's hard on a work order system like that to put it on a pure time schedule. Project you can. The work orders coming in is kind of hard because you get into problems of fences and obstructions that you can't get through. You got to go to legal and do a lot of things. So, and that always delays the progress of a work order. Basically, it takes us between 3 and 6 months to get from the time a work order is put in. Normally, if it's not a high priority where flooding is a concern or a ditch is stopped up and we need to remove obstructions, but just to go in there and do some simple cleaning, routine maintenance, from the time it's called in, is anywhere between 3 and 6 months, depending on what's the problem and if there's some right-of-way issues or fences in the way or whatever.
So 3 to 6 months is without a right-of-way issue, probably. You're probably looking at a little bit further if you have a right-of-way issue.
That's it.
I've been
Get into
experiencing that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bill.
Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, Bill, 3 items real quick. A while back, we talked about Aikens Road, the Stevens Canal back there. What's the progress on that?
Well, they did do some work on Aikens Road, or at least it was turned over to the road department to do some work on Aikens Road itself. For the ditches, that is all, what we determined on that, we have to do some major enlargement of all those ditches. That's the upper portion of the Muddy Creek Basin. That has been turned over to Volkert as part of their full analysis of the Muddy Creek Basin, as part of their preliminary, investigation of what to do at the mouth of Muddy Creek and at Manchac. If they're going to go with a floodgate, if they're going to go with some kind of pumping system there or whatever. So right now, they're doing a complete hydraulic analysis and model of that whole basin, including that ditch, the upper end of, all the way actually to Airline Highway, the Muddy Creek system. Once we get that model in, we're going to use that to go through there and clean Muddy Creek out. And that includes all of that area all the way up to Airline as one major project, like we're doing on all our major channels. So to answer your question, we haven't done a whole lot because we're waiting for information to come in. We may do some spot cleaning if it shows from the model there's some bottlenecks through there. But basically, almost all of that can be improved when we do the major channel cleaning of Muddy Creek to Airline Highway.
When do you expect that information to come in?
They're actually working on it right now. And in fact, Wednesday night we have a preliminary meeting with some residents along the lower end of Muddy Creek at the library in Galvez. Wednesday night, I think at 6 o'clock, which is the public outreach with it. They're doing surveying right now. It's going to take several months to get the surveying and basic data in before they can get to the actually configuring the model and have something back for us. So it's going to be, I would say, 3 to 4 months before we get anything at all back.
Hilbert Young Road, at the end of that road, we had some drainage issues and with one resident, some sewer backing up, so forth, and with the school construction right there. Where we stand on that?
Well, we completed a major project going from Hilbert Young Road all the way back behind the school through there. We changed out some crossings, enlarged some crossings, but we dug that ditch through there, and it's primarily complete. But it looked like a good job, and of course we're going to evaluate it when we get a heavy rainfall. We didn't look at it last time, but we did get any complaints in. So, but that job is basically complete, with the exception of some little bit of grading work and some little bit of work at the end.
Where do we stand on the Bird Island ditch? You know, last time we had a meeting, we were talking about moving the equipment over toward that direction, getting started on that.
The Bird Island ditch, of course, GSA was involved with doing the design and analysis of what needs to be done, especially from Black Bayou toward the Roddy Road, and also some on the other ditch going a lateral off of that, and from Roddy Road up toward Mere Road. And I think, and this is, of course, you know, you get in with GSA and some engineering firms, they want to be really, I guess, confident that the information they give us and the design that they give us will help the situation when they, at least when they put the culverts in on Roddy Road, raise that road, it becomes a levee. They want to make sure that what is done from Roddy Road to Black Bayou doesn't flood, or at least helps the situation and keeps people from flooding. Based on that, the design that they gave back to us is really over the top. It calls for 40-foot bottoms in some place and stuff like this, and a lot of right-of-way issues because you're taking so much and making it so big. We're going back and working with them and actually modifying that model and bring it down to something more realistic that we can do within, or pretty much within the right-of-way we have, or at least taking as little right-of-way we need, new right-of-way. So we're working with them on that to relieve or solve that situation. As soon as we get that, we're going to mobilize. Our people are waiting to mobilize as soon as we get the determination of exactly what needs to be done. I'm hoping, and again, this is what we can get done with that. I'm hoping within a month that we'll resolve the issues and be able to mobilize to that location. So the problem is, and I think what they're going back and look at, is that a lot of the problem on that bayou, that ditch, and a lot of other ditches around here, is contingent on the elevation in the main channel, which is Black Bayou. If Black Bayou gets to a certain elevation, no matter how big that ditch is, the elevation could be so high because water is actually backing up into it. It's not draining anymore. So, you know, that's what we're trying to tell them. You can dig the Mississippi River through there, the elevation can be the same because Black Bayou cannot take it out. So, again, that's some of the issues we were trying to resolve right now.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Shake Snyder.
Bill, I'm very concerned about that also because that was one of the things the homeowners in that area, because the road does act as a levee and the water goes over the road for a substantial amount. And if I know we're going to be raising that road, and when we do, if we don't put those large culverts and everything in there, the substantial culverts, you're going to have some problems. It's going to back up. Yep. And it just no way it's going to be a big culvert. I'd definitely like to make sure that we err in favor of the homeowners for the flooding, because we're going to raise that road, and they're going to have some problems, because I've been there when the water has gone hundreds of yards for a long, long ways over that road, and without that water would have continued rising. It would have risen. There's just nowhere for the water to go. And so, you know, I do beg to differ a little bit on the idea that area is going to be determined by the height of Black Bayou, because there's plenty of instances when the water's flowing through it that it needs to be continued. And so either we keep the road at the present level, which I'm fine with. We're going to have some roads in this parish. When the water gets to a certain point, we're going to have to go over the roads, or we need to make sure that that drainage is very adequate. I think GSA is doing a good job with having that being larger than what it appears to be, because that's how much water goes through there. I've been there when the water's been there. Right. And we're going to have some people that are right next to that's going to have some flooding if we don't do anything else.
And the issue is not the crossing, Mr. Shaken, because we agree with the crossing size. The crossing is going to be adequate to take the water across through the road itself. But what we're concerned about is I don't know if they modeled in the height of the Black Bayou at some of these rain events. And what we're going back and checking our real-time or our elevations during rain events and move them up to where the bridge is or the road is, and truly seeing what can be expected for us the elevation at those points. Even though you got a wide ditch, the elevation can stay the same as Black Bayou. When Black Bayou goes down, it goes down. And we just want to check those figures out. So again, the crossing is not an issue. The covers going under the crossing is going to be enough size capacity to take the water through. From that point to Black Bayou is somewhat of an issue that we're trying to resolve right now.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? I got a few. Just a quick note. Based on the 6-inch rain event we had, what's your observation on how bad did we do? I mean, how many houses we flooded? What we look like?
Well, we came out real good.
Roads we shut down?
No, actually, but this is one of these types of events where it's hard to gauge. As far as we had most of the rain toward the northern part of the parish, the last couple of events, and mostly in the Galvez area, going toward Prairieville and places like that, which is all gravity draining systems. I can tell you though that the Burette ditch carried a lot of water out very quickly. The improvement that we made on it, and some of the other areas in Gonzales. We didn't have any problem for us to drainage going through Gonzales, going to the pumping station. In fact, what we did, we used the last event as a test. We cut all our pumps on. We brought it down as quickly as possible. We alternated our pumps back and forth to test out, the rate of fall, the rate of elevation decline per pump, and trying to get some data. Again, we used it as a practice and ran all our screens. In fact, during that, we found we had a few problems. We fixed them. We're coming up tonight with another problem that just came out last week. But we did not really have a problem, except in some low-lying areas that's just plain flat, flash flood. It builds up and can't get out fast enough, in the Galvez area mostly. So, but basically we came out. We were lucky. We did not get hit like Livingston Parish and St. Helena and some of these other parishes. That would be the true test when that happens to us, and that's why we trying to get these major drainage channels dug out as quickly as possible. We're actually working overtime on Fridays to get that done, so if in fact we are unlucky and catch the blunt of it, we have a drainage system that can handle.
All right. And just to ask you a quick update while we're talking about major drainage on the major projects that we have on the engineering study and on the engineering review and actual engineering, you basically already spoke about the Muddy Creek, that we've got that under review.
Yes, sir.
Can we get some type of update on the
Yes, sir.
pump station covers?
The pump station covers, we talked tonight. We're going to have a meeting in the next couple of days with BKI on the pump station cover. They are having some problem with subs, and we're going to resolve that issue this week, one way or the other, and get back on track. They are behind. Some of the submittals supposed to be this month, and they did acknowledge that, and we're going to try to resolve those issues this week on what to do and set new goals and put new penalties in place if those goals aren't met. The same thing goes with the pumping station itself, the pumps. But that's not due until, we're still in pretty good shape on that. It's not due. Submittals are not due until the end of the year on the pump station for new pumps. So the cover is the main issue with the subs. Law Ridge levee is proceeding. Of course, the extension of the levee, we're changing the scope a little bit. We're looking at some stuff. And that's on track. We don't really have an issue or problem with that. And the old levee for us, the upgraded old levee, that's on track, and we're going to be probably trying to mobilize toward the end of the year, actually, to start doing some of the upgrade of that. Henderson Bayou, like we mentioned before, they're going to phase 2. They may be 2 or 3 weeks behind, but we're hoping to catch up on that and be back on schedule for submittal on the due date in August of preliminary design. And we're also going to have the model in South Carolina available to the commissioners to see and to review. It's been pushed back a little bit because somebody they allowed somebody to go ahead of us, but it doesn't involve or it doesn't hurt our scheduled submittal of preliminary plans in August. And CDM has promised me that they're going to do whatever possible to hit the mark on that. So I feel confident that we on back on schedule for everything.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on the major projects? Thank you. Any other questions on drainage work order systems, work orders in place, back ordered? You have anything else, Mr. Rue, on that?
No, that's all. And again, if you have any questions, please email me, and I'll put you with the right person if I can't answer it, and we'll answer your question this week.
All right. We'll move on to item number 6, cost share with the parish government, the bucket truck. Mr. Rue?
Yes, sir. And many times during the year, and I have a little explanation here for your review, many times during the year we have to take trees out from close areas on our servitude near houses. We also get into problems where trees fall on houses in case of emergencies, during a hurricane and bad weather, where we're asked to assist getting them off. A lot of times we cannot do that because of, again, the close proximity. We need or could use the access to a bucket truck where we can top it, get it down lower, and then can take it out with our equipment. And again, it would save us a lot of money and time if we were able to do that. It just so happens that the parish government, the Recreation Commission, and DPW is buying a bucket truck. We estimated that drainage, if we have access to it, would probably utilize that truck 40% of the time. Maybe more if you get into a lot of bad weather and all. Therefore, the total price of the truck is $145,198. And we are recommending that that we assist or we cost share up to $60,000 for that truck with the parish government. I think it'd be a savings for us. And the motion is to authorization to enter into a cost share agreement with Recreation Department and DPW to purchase the Alltech model LRV 60 E70 bucket truck from Alltech Environmental Products for $145,198. With EADW's cost share not to exceed $60,000 and to increase the budget line 050634087 by $60,000 from the Drainage District Fund balance. This wasn't a budgeted item, so I need to pull it from the fund balance to pay for it.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson.
With our new guidelines for purchasing, how is this going to fall with that going back to, does that need to go to the Finance Committee?
Finance.
I can answer that, Mr. Chairman, if I can. This is just your authorization to share. This item will be going as part of parish government to the Finance Committee for final approval for parish government to authorize the buying of the equipment.
Got that, Mr. Johnson? Yes, sir. Todd.
Mr. Bill, as far as, it's a three-way deal here, are we looking at getting together on who's going to use it? Or I'm sure we work well with Mr. Bob Turner and the rec department,
Yes, sir.
I don't have any controversy, if we got any guidelines on how we plan on using this truck, both of us need it at the same time, just...
Right. It's a scheduling issue, and priority is, of course, emergencies. And life and property is in danger. That's top priority. So if that's the case, and we need it for that, that takes priority over anything else. For us, the normal operation of the truck, that's a scheduled issue where we all have at least DPW and us have the cartograph system where we schedule work. So that's no problem.
So we have a policy in place
Yes, sir.
for this. That's the main thing. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to just comment real quick on that. As far as a written policy, I think as we continue to work together as one government serving the people and everybody working toward the common good, we can exercise good judgment in knowing what's the priority on any given day or week. Other than regular scheduled work, I don't see an issue there.
It's no issue.
Any other discussion, Mr. Bell?
Bill, is there going to be schooling for this bucket truck? Like DPW's got a couple people that'll be licensed only, not just anybody can go jump up on it. And
Actually, you're absolutely right, and we're going to include. It's going to be a set number of people, and that's going to be allowed to operate the bucket truck. They have to go through a training and be certified to do so. And but all entities will have designated people for that.
That's right.
That will be trained, and both safety and in operational of the
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda, item number 7, acceptance of low bid, clearing and dirt work on the Tripp property. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir. This goes back many, many years. When I got here, it was an old item, and we tried to resolve it in many ways. It's on the Vincent Tripp property, on the Severio Canal. This all began many years ago, back in the early 90s, when the parish, late 80s, 1980s, when the parish began the dredging for the pump station at McElroy. Of course, they did it with without permits, without authorization from the Corps of Engineers. And it just so happened that they were a cease and desist order came down to us. It happened to occur on Mr. Tripp property. We had a lot of spoil stacked up. There was wetland issues, and it was just left there. They tried to have different resolutions to it over the years. We finally came to one just recently. The Corps of Engineers bought into it. We okay with it. The Tripp family's okay with it. Now we need to go ahead and do it. We're asking for authorization to clean that land. We did receive bids today to do the work. We're going to outsource it because we just don't have the manpower and ability to do it with all the drainage work that we're doing. And again, you don't have copies of it because you may have copies that was handed out, but it wasn't sent in your packet, mainly because the bids came in today. And the low bid, and we put it in terms of units, $3,500 per acre to clear and discard of debris, $6.25 per yard to remove and haul the dirt and spread the dirt, the spoil. We had 2 bidders come in, or put in bids for it, AT Petrie Trucking, LLC, and On Grade Construction. The low bid was the one I just quoted, the $3,500 per acre and the $6.25 per yard. It came out to a total cost for that bid of $155,000. The other bid came in at for 14 acres, $5,000, and I didn't separate it. We didn't have time. But then $5.50 per cubic yard. Their total bid came to $163,000. So we recommend, and the purchasing department recommend, they accept the low bid from Petrie Trucking.
Move to accept the low bid.
Second.
For this work.
And proceed.
We have a motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Thompson. Discussion. I have discussion. Mr. Root,
Yes,
this
sir.
is a turnkey job, right?
Turnkey. We're
We're
doing
not going to
inspection.
expend any of our resources
No, sir.
other than supervising the sub.
Supervised inspection, final product, and that's it. And of course, we're going to be looking at the quantities. We're going to be following the quantities because it is per unit, and that's our main job.
And the permitting is the responsibility of who?
We already took care of the permitting. We had a delineation by our consultant, and worked out the detail of the Corps of Engineers, and they signed off. We're not affecting wetlands, so we okay. We got a permission of the Corps to proceed.
And the spoils?
The spoil, we have the spoil that we hauled and placed at a non-wetland location on the Tripp property.
And that's at Mr. Tripp's request?
At request,
That's
and
Vincent.
also the again a deal we worked out with the Corps of Engineers and the Tripp family.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passed. We'll move on to item number 8, authorization to issue task order contract to Arthur Shake Snyder for dump truck services. Mr. Rue, you want to explain?
yes, sir. Again, this goes back to the same thing that we've been working with TH Trucking, Montego Trucking, Jaybird Trucking, and also most recently John Wild Trucking. And we are seeing now that we're some of these trucks having problems staying on the job every day. They break down or they have other obligations, something happens, and at any point in time we don't have all the trucks at the location. We're looking at our opinion now is to get some task order contracts with more trucks than what we presently have. And when one can't make it, we can have access to call another one up. If all of them show up, we have plenty of dirt to move. Instead of having 3 trucks, moving it over 4 days, if we double the trucks, we do it in 2 days. It's the cost, it's the same. We're just doing it faster, and we see that the need is there to get this done quickly. So we're asking to add another truck, Arthur Shakespeare Trucking, to the list that we're available to call and work on some of these job sites to get the dirt out.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Thompson,
Second.
second by Mr. Valentine. Discussion. I have some discussion.
Yes, sir.
Basically, last year you had like a couple contract haulers. That's what I call them. We use them, and they were able to sufficiently do what you needed to get done. This year, you either have an accelerated pace or heavier workload that the contract haulers that you got are non-responsive to the total need for whatever reason. Where do you see this going? We put 3,
Right.
then we put another one, now we got another one. I just want to...
Well, it's 2 things.
What do you see based on your workload, your scope of work, and your schedule? Because I know it's important to keep up with schedule. That means everything.
Yes, sir. And again, last year is one of the first years that we started this major channel cleaning and stockpiling and moving the dirt out. And we did as much as we could with our own forces. We found that we needed help, so we got 1 truck in and 2 trucks in. And now we're at the time where a lot of this fall has been setting up. And the property owners, of course, at the time we told them that in a reasonable amount of time, when it dries, we'll get the dirt out. Now it comes to the time that we need to get the dirt out. And we're seeing that we just need to get more forces in there. This is a learning experience for us, too, because it never was done in the parish before, by parish forces. So we're seeing now that we just need to bite the bullet, get some trucks in there, and get a lot of this fall out. And I'd also, again, you run these trucks, and they do have breakdowns. And so when we lose one of the trucks for 2 or 3 days, we have 1 truck needs a clutch put in, so that's lost it for a week. We have access to the other truckers. Don't mean that we use all of them all the time at the same time.
Right.
But the intermittent use of them, and they help us out. But in the case that all of them show up, or we need all of them, we can, and we have enough dirt we could haul all year, be honest with you. I mean, we have a lot of dirt because of our production. We have a group of people out there that is digging and performing work that is I'll match with anybody in the country. And they are producing the work. Now we have to get rid of the spoil, and we need to, the fastest way of doing that is to outsource a lot of the hauling.
Okay. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We're going to move to item number 9, Spanish Lake presentation. Ms. Marilyn Forbes.
Not Marilyn Forbes, but I'm going to hand this out and go through this as quickly as we can. My name is Scott Nesbitt. I'm with Natural Resource Professionals. We're here to present, let me get this handed out first.
Yes, Scott, while he's handing that out, just a quick overview of what our conversation with you and who you represent.
Right. I represent the owner of Lago Espanol, which is a mitigation area, approximately 2,000 acres in Ascension Parish, about 1,800 acres in Iberville Parish. The Drainage District had asked the owner of Lago Espanol, which is the operator is Buck Monroe of the Dinkman family, if they would consider a project, and we're going to go...
yeah, but let's continue with the short explanation.
They asked us to ask the Lago Espanol to consider the construction of a drainage ditch across a ridge south of Ridge Road to facilitate drainage between Big Swamp and the existing dredge canal of Bayou Bro. We came and presented, talked about that the last time we were here very quickly. We have since contacted 3 of the landowners that came up and had a statement at the time of that discussion. Jimmy Smith, David Bro, and Dwayne Petit, and they are here now. Basically, what we are proposing is an alternative to that particular drainage project, and that will take this presentation to discuss.
So basically, the people you represent asked you to run an independent study and take a look at it.
Right.
Am I correct from my phone conversation with you?
Yeah,
that
correct.
You represent everybody.
There are two other landowners that we represent that have land only in Iberville Parish, large land holdings of 2,300 acres, and Jay LeBlanc is one of those that's here tonight. The other landowner is called First Louisiana Resources. They own approximately 2,300 acres. It used to be the Alcas Tract. And those were the two that hired us to do an ecological study of Spanish Lake Basin just to determine why this area was not coming back ecologically. The findings of those we presented last time because it has a bearing on the drainage project that was that's under discussion right now in Big Swamp. That's how those two connect. But we're here representing Lago Español in reply to the request from the Drainage District if they to a consideration of a drainage ditch to be excavated across the ridge south of Ridge Road.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
And that was that request from this drainage district?
That's right. Bill was somewhere.
From Mr. Rue.
Okay, we received emails via Buck Monroe. Dinkman said, please, will you look into this? He sent a letter of authorization to the Drainage District saying that we were his agent. We were to act on his behalf. We sent him to Mr. Rue. We copied others. And we have been working with his office and the landowners on Ridge Road that I think actually was their basic idea, and they put it forward through the councilman at some time. That's the group that we're working with on behalf of Lago, of the Dinkman family.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. What we wanted, we felt like it'd be easier to put this in PowerPoint and make it a little bit easier. Basically, like we just said, there was I guess you went over the first slide. Back up. Okay, go ahead. We have 4 points we want to cover very quickly. They are to propose an alternative to the Bluff Swamp Cut project, which we just discussed, show the effects of the operation of alligator water control structure on the area. The reason why we bring that up is because it has bearing on the ditch and the drainage plan that we're putting forward. Then we want to discuss the need for a cooperative basin-wide agreement in regard to the water control structure because there's so many interests. And the last thing it says outlines Section 40410 process. We're just going to make a couple of points. We're here to promote cooperation. I've been told specifically by Mr. Monroe that he wants to be a good neighbor. He is all for supporting Ascension Parish. He does have interest and land in both parishes, Iberville and Ascension. Let's go forward, Greg. The proposed cut was the creation of a new man-made dredge channel traversing a natural ridge. We felt like there was concerns about reversing water flow. If you dug a ditch and the flap gate wasn't operated correctly, you could actually bring more water into Big Swamp than during high water periods in that area. Straight channels are not particularly ecologically desirable in when cut across a ridge that provides at least some sort of separation of hydrology. And it also would require probably a drainage servitude for maintenance, a flap gate, and if there's a flap gate involved with a core permit, they're going to want an operational plan with that. So for those are the reasons, it also requires Section 404 permit. For those reasons, the landowner said, can we look at an alternative that might be more desirable from the landowner's perspective than doing these things? What we looked at was utilizing natural drainage of the swamp. When you go a little bit further south, and we'll get an aerial that we can look at, there are some drains that appear to be a little bit plugged up. There are some cuts and levees and plug culverts that maybe would facilitate drainage in the same manner that the proposed ditch would also provide drainage. I don't know if y'all can see this very well, but we met with the landowners. We made several site visits, one with them, and then once we had made the site visit and traversed the ridge, to the north there, you see a little straight line. Greg, do you have a cursor or not? That's where go to where the proposed cut was. Right there was the proposed cut that would go. You can't really see it on the screen, but that goes into the corner of the dredged canal as it turns northward. Then the cut would go across the ridge. That was what was proposed. What we were looking at is going further down the ridge. We made an inspection out there. We've been out there several times, and basically there's some levees that need to be cut and culverts could be put on. We're trying to facilitate flow from the Big Swamp area up into Little Bayou. Let's trace up Little Bayou. And then into the same channel that you would be cutting into with the proposed project. Essentially, there's some small bridges that restrict flow on the ridge area. The little lines to the east and south by the red flow lines, those are actually traced on the aerial and in the field with GPS where natural drains actually go and would naturally drain that area into Little Bayou. They also need to be cleared. There's a lot of buttonbush. There's a lot of vegetation coming up in some of the drains. Down to the south, there's a abandoned well site, or I think they call it, I forget if it's like Fisheye or something, road. Actually, we're thinking about bringing the water from the south area that affects Big Swamp, cutting across 2 of those levees with either culverts or open cuts, and facilitating flow up into the Little Bayou area. And we feel like collectively all of that would facilitate quicker flow from Big Swamp all the way into the dredge channel. Same objective as the other cut. I've spoken to Mr. Monroe about this. This is something that it may require his own financing to do. This is in the mitigation area. Federal funds and parish funds are usually can't be accepted if you're making drainage improvements, and that's part of your agreement. So we still have to ferret that out. But I wanted to bring it to the attention of the council, just because, I mean, this would be an investment and a cost from the landowner to do it. He'd have to put this up to facilitate flow, and he's interested in assisting with this. But as we move along, the one concern that we have that was the outcome of the study was, let's go to the next slide, Greg. This is just the LIDAR, which is elevation shot of the area. The darker the blue, the lower the elevation. Go to the Ridge Road. Go back one. No, go to the LIDAR. Can you show them where Ridge Road is? Wait, is that Ridge Road, Jimmy? The Big Swamp area is to the south. You can see that it's kind of a sub-basin. It's affected by the drainage of the larger swamp area to the east. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. When we talk about the Alligator Bayou locks or water control structure, basically it regulates it affects flow in streams and ditches on about 45,000 acres. 86% of the land's in Iberville Parish, 14% is in Ascension Parish. It was designed to prevent backwater flooding from Manchac. Still a good idea. Now it operates primarily in a closed position right now, and it results in because it's operated primarily in the closed position. And there's USGS data, and we don't want to get into all that, but you can certainly look at it. We have all that data available. It basically results in long periods of standing water across the acreage. And it's a loss of flood storage. And I don't know how clear this is. There are the parish lines. That long straight line is Ascension's Iberville split. To the east of that is the 14% of Ascension. That's to the west. To the east right there, that's the area that's affected by the lock. All that area that's hatched is under the influence of the water control structure. When it's closed, it affects all the drainage and everything that's hatched. The red area to the east is the 14% in Ascension. The other area in the blue, that's East Iberville, and it's all of East Iberville, including most of Spanish Lake. So that water control structure, it stops flow in Bayou Bro and Bayou Paul when it's closed, and when it's open, it facilitates flow. So there's a lot of things to consider, and it's a very contentious thing. We know that. All we're trying to do is facilitate some cooperation between all the interested stakeholders here, but we wanted to illustrate that it's a tough issue here. Let's go to the next slide. These are just representative photos, but on the right, Bayou Manchac, that's in the last year or so. I go down there 3 or 4 times a week. You can see the debris line on Bayou Manchac at about a foot. When it's closed in a normal position, it's about 5.5 feet inside the water control structure. So that's about, you're looking at about a 3-foot difference in water storage in the Iberville side. And we can flip through, they're all about the same. Now, Manchac can go up real quick. We know that. But basically, typically, one's low. Manchac is typically generally low. You're losing about 3 feet on the Iberville side, 2.5 to 3 feet of water storage in that area. Keep going through. Okay. Let's see. We prepared this report for the landowners. We submitted a copy to the Ascension Parish and to Iberville Parish. We were asking for comments because the landowners were saying, hey, we can't sustain this loss for we can't be flooded out forever, in short. So we also provided the same report to the agencies for comment. What we've gotten back so far is from the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. These are their comments on our report, and their inspection was basically high water levels in the basin are impacting the habitat, not conducive to flood control. Most areas observed, including ridges, had standing water, numerous dead trees, dying trees, minimal regeneration, hydrilla, aquatic vegetation, thick, invasive plants, basically the depleting water quality. They can also provide a seed source for other waterways. You can control hydrology with the dry down. You could kill it. Next one, Department of Agriculture and Forestry. The trees appear to be in poor health and under stress. The ecosystem needs to have cycles of drying to encourage it, to promote good growth and oxidation in the root zone. The comparison of aerial photos from years past shows steady progression of more and more open water. From U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Spanish Lake Subbasin has and is currently experiencing degradation due to prolonged flooding. Prolonged high water has resulted in slow, it's an interesting way to spell slow, but slow growth rates for bottomland hardwood and cypress swamp, limited vegetative regeneration of desired species within the area. So that the summary is just what we said there. We can go to the, when we have copies in this handout of all those letters, what we're trying to get at is we're getting feedback from the agencies. They're saying, we see a problem here. And you guys have not had a chance to really look at this. You've only had it like 4 or 5 months. It's not that long. Iberville, we want to be transparent here. Iberville Parish has a copy of the report too. We've met with their environmental manager, John Clark, and we're just hoping that we can move towards something where there can be some dialogue between the two parishes and the stakeholders. You know, Alligator Bayou Tours is a stakeholder. Our landowners are stakeholders, but it's a big deal out there. There is a lot of building proposed on Nicholson Drive. There are 3 large lot areas on Bayou Paul Road that are proposed for development that are immediately adjacent to this. My experience for 20 years of wetlands permitting, you're not going to stop growth. But if we can get a plan in place, you can limit growth. And you can limit the type of impacts you could have in that basin. So we're trying to promote that. And the other thing in regard to, let's go to the 404, there's some discussion we've had with a couple councilmen and also a lot of landowners. There's a proposed project that could come along that would have a bigger structure or dredging of Bayou Bro, and that is all great. We think that's all great. But that's also a 404 and Section 10 permit. They're going to do their own ecological assessment. They're going to, let's go to the last deal. Let me just keep going. Okay. These are the landowners that have conservation plans in progress or will have them proposed just in Spanish Lake. The only area we don't have outlined is I don't have Frank Bonifay's area. I don't have his boundary limits there. But with Frank's area, there's Lago, there's Jay LeBlanc's area, there's Alca's Tract. All these areas are proposing conservation plans. So, I mean, just looking at that and then looking at all the development that's going on around on Bluff Road and south of there, we got to get a plan going on in that area. All of them are going to cut on, all the landowners will be able to have significant input on any project that is proposed for that area, very significant. Anybody can stop a 404 permit. Not stop it, but slow it down so it becomes just a real pain if there's not a good cooperation from the beginning. So we're just here to say we're going to go ahead with this project. We're going to look into the feasibility of the one in regard to the alternative to cut the dredge line. We're asking the parishes to address possibly some sort of agreed upon water management for the control structure because there's a concern with it for these landowners. We can cut that, we can clear that area out and make the flow better, but until the water level's lowered a little bit, it isn't going to do anything. I heard y'all talking about Blackwater. If you got a high flood level back there, you can cut all the ditches you want, and all you're going to do is move water back and forth. It doesn't do anything. So that's kind of it right now. And I mean, we look forward to working with everyone. That's the point. That's the reason why we're here.
Thank you, sir. Quick question. When I had spoke with you, Ms. Forbes, that we talked about it being a joint issue for both Iberville and Ascension Parish and possibly East Baton Rouge to a point.
Yes.
And that I'd strongly recommended that y'all try to get together. We try to get a meeting between the 3 parishes to speak of this whole project and this whole issue, what affects everyone. And she had expressed that y'all were possibly working on that.
Right.
Iberville just hired John Clark recently. And
well, we have met with Iberville since that discussion, and there are several landowners. We are also trying to slate a presentation with East Baton Rouge. That's Jim Ferguson for drainage. We're also going to try to get a presentation with him and see. I mean, it's kind of funny in that they discharge into Amy and Manchac, so they're in there as a player in terms of putting the pressure on that watershed. I've never talked to them about this, so I don't know what their position is or if they feel real involved. I really don't know, but we certainly are going to go and talk to Jim. There's also a landowner on the other side of the Bayou Manchac right there at the locks, or the water control structure. John Clark said that he's come to them and to their parish several times saying that he would like to have some resolution on scouring and embank erosion on that side. But he was also interested in putting up, interested in having some land for recreational use or being part of a larger program for that area for recreation and ecological. So we're gonna track him down and talk to him too, and we'll make these updates to Bill and provide them to y'all. But we just wanted to get on a good plane. We kind of felt like we got off on some missteps at the beginning, but we feel like this is a very important, big issue. And then the more that's built out in Iberville, the more this is going to impact you guys and the landowners that we represent as well.
Well, I just want to let you know, we talked. This is not an issue that's going to be settled real quick or overnight.
Correct.
And the fact is that, while we're not in the business of draining the swamp ourselves, that our commission, our board is chartered to keep residents from flooding.
Right.
And that, being most of this Mr. Valentine's district,
Right.
it affects, and some of Mr. Bell's, and that, it's going to take a little time to work it out.
Absolutely, and we understand that there was a 4-inch rain in that area, not a 6-inch. They didn't get that much rain at the station. That raised the level inside the water control structure on the Ridge Road side 1.5 feet. And just as an example, if you're at 5.5 feet, you got 1.5 feet on a 4-inch rain. Think about being at 3 feet and having 1.5 feet. That's a lot easier. You're still way under flood. But 2 4-inch rains real quickly, and you can't drain that swamp. That's what's being. We're talking Ridge Road. We're talking Ascension. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what the problem is over there. Is that there's not enough flood storage capacity for their concerns. There's a lot of ways to skin this cat. Nobody's got a plan that's going to be a silver bullet for anything. But I think collectively over the next couple of years or year or so, I think we can come at some agreement. And our landowner at Lago is more than willing to put money up. He's more than willing to do something that will improve drainage on his property. What he's asking for is an open dialogue. That's about it.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Before, sir, would you please attend the podium? We may have some questions for you.
Yeah,
Mr. Shake Snyder.
Well, I appreciate the information that giving us a good start for everyone, and I know it's pretty much what the echoes of the people, the residents there, have been saying for years, and I think that this basin affects everybody in Ascension, Livingston, and Baton Rouge Parish, and the amount of water storage that can be created is tremendous for flooding, and I think that because of that we really do need to get involved. And then the other thing is we have an obligation as people and citizens here to maintain this natural basin, which is not being done right now. It's being killed because of continuous water in there, and we need to take some steps sooner rather than later to maintain this, or we're going to lose the volume of growth that we have. But I would suggest the best way to do it is to do what we're doing on the River Region Caucus and ask that we maybe draw up a resolution next time, getting a committee from Ascension and Iberville and maybe Baton Rouge Parish and meet on a regular basis and address this issue, and that way we can make continuous reports to the council, and that way we'll get some people that are working on it continuously, and we won't let it slip through the cracks. And we need to have everything we do. We need to have dialogue with Iberville and Baton Rouge Parish, and I think with some regular scheduled meetings with a group that is tasked to do that, I think there's some people that are interested. We can move forward in a lot quicker manner.
That sounds great. Terrific.
I would ask that
if
Bill wants to make a recommendation for us, or if you want to get with him for
we'll
next
take a
meeting,
look at it, see that we have a contingency that represents our parish as a whole, East Ascension. Mr. Valentine.
Yeah, I just want to. I understand Mr. Shake Snyder's concern, but let me just correct one thing. It's not killing a lot of things, and it's not dying. You can look at, I guess, City Park in Baton Rouge, and when the water gets low, guess what? Fish die. So it's a happy medium on what you do out there, and that's what the discussion is, and that's what we need to work to try and prevent. But draining the swamp is not the way you do it, in my opinion. But we appreciate Mr. Nesbitt coming. I think Mr. Rue, and we appreciate him naturally educating us on some of the things that's going out there. But this is a Mr. Rue call, and I think Mr. Rue needs to get with Iberville, East Baton Rouge Parish, work with the residents, and come up with some type of solution and recommendation on the way we move forward on the situation. A lot of people have the ideas on what to do. Everybody is in agreement. Canals that are all out there are all clogged up. They need to be dredged. And that's one of the things we're working for, because we work for drainage, and that's exactly what we want to do, make sure that we continue to do that. And I appreciate it.
Any other questions, comments, Mr. Nedman? Well, basically, sir, what you're looking at is the end results. Should everything go the way your study looks and the reports you've gotten back from the agencies, is that it would do away with the locks, sir?
No. I mean, you have to protect your... Well, the 6-inch rain put Manchac up to 9 feet.
Right.
I mean, there is definitely a need to stop that. I think I'm not a hydrology engineer. I'm just trying to generate conversation.
Yeah, let you explain
what
your
we're looking at. Here's the deal. That from a wetlands perspective, here's the deal to look at. The swamp's been draining itself for 10,000 years. It gets really flooded. It gets really low. It gets really dry. It can be managed in a way that provides, water access and use. There are some critical times that if the water could come down and get some of the lower bottom lands dry enough for seedling regeneration, you're going to see a great regeneration in that area. Nobody's talking about doing away with the locks. Nobody's talking about draining the swamp, but there may be times when the swamp is drained. I'll put this out there. You drain the swamp in Spanish Lake, then you can plant some vegetation that will attract ducks and get that wildlife back in there. I mean, there's benefits about everything. It just needs to be a stakeholder-based plan, and I understand that parishes are driven by flooding. They don't. It's not driven by ecological management. It's flooding. So I think Mr. Rue would be able to. He seems to be a good manager of various opinions. We'll turn it over to him. We trust that.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that basically I was just trying to generate a little bit more conversation.
Yeah, we don't want the
slideshow.
No, we don't want the locks gone.
3 minutes worth of good statements worth 3 slideshows. You know what I mean?
Well, no, we're not advocating anything like that. Just an open dialogue.
Give one opportunity,
Thank you.
Okay, we have some other folks that would like to speak on this. Anybody have any other questions for Mr. Nedden or his group? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Frank Bonifay. 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen, ma'am. Frank Bonifay. I'm the owner of the Bluff Swamp Wildlife Refuge. We have approximately 1,600 acres. I spoke to you last time Mr. Nesbitt was here. The swamp actually is 4,800 years old. It's an ancient backwater swamp, and it would flood in the spring and it would dry. But the levels of the flood water would keep the depths of the water, the canals, to where the fish and all the wildlife could live. As it has been the community, Mr. Brown, Mr. Smith, the Bros, and so many people who know more than the experts from a historical experience. And as the levels have been kept to a certain level, the fish live, the food chain continues. There's work to be done that Mr. Valentine and this drainage board has been budgeting for this work, for this canal to be dredged, a new lock to be placed there. And we are the owners of these properties for the spoil to be placed, as well as this plan comes not from me, but comes from the people who know best. And as the Smiths, the Browns, the Bros, and so many people as myself that live on the Ridge Road, it is the hope to prevent our homes from flooding and our businesses, and most certainly never let the swamp go dry at the 2.5-foot level, which was proposed, which is drying out the swamp, and at the same time managing the land for prosperity as well as flood protection. And this can be done, but it must be done through the wisdom of the people and the knowledge of the to expedite this, as it was Mr. Brown, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Bro who walked through the swamp with the wetland planners, Ms. Hager, coming up with a hope to go ahead and drain the swamp that was behind Jimmy's house, Jimmy Brown's home, that potentially had a flooding problem. and that was argued. Now, this proposal that Mr. Nesbitt had gotten with Buck Monroe to do, if he's paying for it, hallelujah. If we can expedite it, that is a hope, to go ahead and get the water out of the community, but not to drain it and kill everything. At the same time, it is the people that this should come from, and as it is them who know the best of what should be done and how it should be done. And as a landowner, for the miles of land where the spoil needs to be placed, and the owner where the locks will be placed on in Ascension Parish, managed by the people who know more than anyone else. For generations they've experienced it. It is always the control of those locks to be managed by the people on the Ridge Road, the most vulnerable ones. Thank you for your time. And also, if I could speak, I did speak to Wildlife and Fisheries recently, and I have been working with the East Baton Rouge Planning and Zoning and telling them the problems, and I have been addressing this for over 15 years. And I spoke to Wildlife and Fisheries, and they are siding with us, as I understand, that it'd be detrimental to drain the swamp and kill the fish, which, of course, the food chain would be destroyed. But we must think of drainage, and as it has been the wisdom of Mr. Roy Peaty, Blaine's grandfather, as Mr. Perry Berto, and Mr. Keith, who is mentioning the locks today, it is the foresight of lowering the water pre-storms and managing that flood control area. The flood basin is not full of water. It is only water in the bayous, and so this issue of the basin being full of water when it rains, it's going to overflow. That is not true. It is only in the bayous, Alligator Bayou and Bro Bayou. And so you must not say that there's a 45,000 acre area full of water. And
That's Mr. Bonifay. Could you wrap it up, please, sir?
So really the facts, it needs to come from the people, and I'd appreciate you guys to be to listen to the people of the Ridge Road to make your determination on how everything will go. And
thank you, sir.
Hopefully we can expedite the plan that Mr. George Valentine has been working with us, the community, with. Thank you.
All right, next we have Mr. Jay LeBlanc. Three minutes, please, Mr. LeBlanc.
Thank y'all for the opportunity to come speak with you. I like the momentum that we're getting on this subject. The only thing I'd have to say is that you got to think retention, retention, retention. We have the hurricane season upon us now, and we get a perfect storm, you're going to have some real problems in there. The basin is full right now. You do not have any retention. But I'd like everybody to put the inputs in and just come up with a resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. John Borden. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm just here on behalf of the ALCOS tract and the landowners, First Louisiana Resource. We spoke last time. We support Mr. Nesbitt's plan. I also met with Mr. Bonifay. Thought his plans, his suggestions were good. We're in the middle of it. We would like also to get it resolved. We would love to be on the committee as a large landowner, and I would urge you not only to take the testimony of the gentleman who lived out there, but we also must consider scientific facts about what is actually happening to the swamp. And with the combination of both, hopefully we can come up with a plan sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have one more. Mr. James Brown.
I'd like to say, until they drain that swamp, have some drainage to get what's in there out. Right now, we only had about 6 inches of rain, and the big swamp is already over knee boots, and it was like almost dry with the drought we've been having. So you need to make some drainage back there. I'm not for draining all the water either, but before this situation got like this, they had the best fish and the cleanest canals whenever I moved back there that they ever had. But it's all silted in, and the swamps is, they claim they flooding the swamps. It's not flooding the swamp. It's like Louis Lambert told me at a meeting 3 or 4 years ago, Jimmy, what y'all need is a reservoir. I said, well, how do you put water in a reservoir that stays full? We got a reservoir. So that's about all I got to say. Until you do some digging back there and get where that water will drain off, you'd have better fishing, better hunting, or anything. At least protect your property. My place, when I bought it, 3 days of 8-inch rain was all gone. Right now, 8-inch rain, but it is like it is right now, 3 months it'd be still not gone. And I bought 22.5 acres back there. And it's only one little hill by the barn. Whenever we get these big rains, it sticks out over there. I got to load my cows up and take them down the road. I only got 2 because I don't have much money.
Sir, what you think is what's the major contributor to the change that from when you moved back there to now?
Well, back when I moved back there, they built those locks over there to keep Baton Rouge water from flooding back there. Because years before they ever built them locks, my pa-in-law had to come from the Bluff Road in a motorboat to get to his house. And that ridge is a high ridge, goes all the way to the other end of Spanish Lake, towards Bow Paul in there. And right now they got over 100 and something houses in there. But back then, before they built them locks, all the Baton Rouge water would come on us, and if it wouldn't be for the locks right now, if they want to do away with the locks, Baton Rouge water would flood us plumb out because it can't get out and emits up. It's not going to get out over there. So until they do some dredging or something, you ain't going to help the trees, you ain't going to help the flooding or nothing else. So that's my opinion of it.
Thank you, sir. We respect your opinion. Any other comments from the commissioners on this subject? I want to thank everybody for their participation in this presentation. Be whatever winded it was, that it's not an issue that's going to go away, and it's truly a multi-parish issue. And I think everybody is concerned with the ecology for the future. So, Mr. Rule, we'll talk about it later and just see what we can do to set up and see what you got planned for that, what we'll look at. Thank you, sir. We'll go to item number 10, which was a 2/3 addition within the last 48 hours. The addition to authorization to issue appeal for repairs to the Marvin Bro pumping station screens, Guzman Machine Works, for $11,500.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll go to item 10A, which is a 2/3 agenda item. They have the litigation. Would you read that? You don't need to read all whole litigation. Just give us an overview.
It's to authorize the parish president to sign a settlement documents on the Roger C. Road Bridge because
Moved by Mr. Thank you, sir. Moved by Mr. Valentine, second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Bell. We are adjourned.